Well, I don't know, maybe a month after transplanting, one day we looked out there. It was an epiphany. I've never had an experience like that in my life before or since. Looked at the first crosses, tall this, crossed with tall that, terrible. It was a jungle. The F2 is always a jungle, but this was a bad one. Nothing, obviously. We came on the first of the crosses that involved one of the three, Taiwan short things. And you look down there, and say, Jesus, something has happened. There were big plants and there were short plants. And there were no intermediate plants. They were huge, but they were short. Wow, look at that. And the short ones, leaves like this, erect, darker green, sturdy stems, high tillering. So I got the kids and we took off our sneakers and we plowed into the mud, and I said, okay, kid one, you count 2 rows. Kid two, you count 2, I'll count 2 rows. How many talls, how many shorts? Came back, added them up, 3 to 1, essentially 3 to 1. Obviously, single gene recessive for shortness. It may sound something like arrogance, but I contend that I knew at that moment the significance of this. So I did 4 things, 3 or 4 things immediately after we got out of the field. I got Tanaka. I said, Tanaka, got something to show you. Took him out. He looked at that. Hi, hi. Yeah, that's, Tanaka either said hi or just shake his head. Shake his head was no. He said, geez. He saw it. Then I went in and got Sterling Wharton. I said, can you get Bob Chandler? I grabbed those 2 guys, took them out. This is the same day. I said, look at that. I explained a little more to them than I had to Tanaka. They got it immediately. And then I went and sent a telegram to Beechel. I said, I think I found a simply inherited dwarfing gene that works. Because the panicle, it turned out the panicle was not dwarfed. There had been lots and lots of dwarfing genes, but they were miserable because the panicle was dwarfed. You know, what are you going to do? So, obviously, we concentrated. I had those 2 ties and my research assistants. Came time flowering, maturity. We had to harvest plants. We had gone in with sickles. We cut out all the tall plants so that the little short things wouldn't be terribly shaded. Just harvested seed individual plants of the short ones. And on the 8th cross, IR8, which meant the 8th cross made, I don't know, for some reason we picked out 300 or 400 plants, I'm sure. That's a big F2 selection rate, which would give you 300 or 400 F3 rows, okay? And the same for the other crosses. Before leaving IRRI, I sent 100 kilos of seed of IR8 to the head of the Rice Federation in Colombia, in Bogota, a very close friend and a wonderful man. He planted that 100 kilos on his farm. And a year or 2 later, I asked him, how'd you make out? He said he couldn't believe it. I suppose 100 kilos, he planted half a hectare. He said, I got 8 tons to the hectare. I guess the best he had ever harvested on his farm was maybe 4 tons. Well, he took that harvest from this half hectare, so he had 4 tons of seed, and he broke it up and he distributed it among his buddies in the Rice Federation. People affiliated, farmers, with the Rice Federation, and that's how it got out. And it went like wildfire. I got there in '67, 1 year later, and I'll never forget. I drove to this one area where the first impact was, and on both sides of the road and all the schoolyards behind the churches, there were huge mounds of rice, just stockpiled, immense piles of rice, because the drying and milling capacity was not geared to this sudden surge of production. Of course, that problem resolved itself within a year or 2. And then IR8, quickly, we got it out of Colombia and to many other countries, mostly tropical, and it had the same impact. as it had in Colombia.